All right, YouTube, what's up? Good morning. I got an exciting guest for you here today, and I'm in Gainesville. I've been on the road since 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had a suggestion from Rob Greenfield. He said, I need to get up here and see Melissa, see what she's doing. She's doing some epic work with seed saving up in the North Florida area. I haven't done a video on seed saving yet. I figured this is something we need to get to y'all, so hold tight. I'm gonna show you around. Oh, hey, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Grow Hub. So we're here at Grow Hub today in Gainesville, Florida, and Grow Hub is a space where we have a landscape nursery operation, a compost operation, and a seed saving operation that helps support adults with disabilities that help us run this whole outfit.
So how long you been here, Melissa?
Gosh, I've been here officially about 2 years, but I've been poking around here in the soil for at least 5 years. So a lot of this space that we're seeing is the result of the offshoot of the Farm to School to Work program, which is just up the dirt road here, that was looking for ways to connect local food to local school cafeterias and doing it in a really meaningful way that engages students. And so students with disabilities from high schools around the county come here every day, and it's their school. They get to garden, they get to work in the cafeteria and learn about food and food packaging and handling. And this started as an offshoot of that because once those kids are out of school, if there's no programs or jobs for them, they haven't got a lot to do. There's no purpose, there's no reason to wake up every morning. And so here they can come out and work at Grow Hub, and they get to help us in the seed saving gardens. They help us do compost and feed the donkeys. They help manage this enormous landscape nursery that sells a lot of really great plants to the community. So we can go in this first seed saving garden. So a lot of what we do here is actually growing things out for seed and trying new things too. So as a seed collector, we get a lot of people giving us suggestions and giving us seeds. And before I want to save the seeds and provide them to the community, I want to see how they do first by testing them out. So this is one of our seed trial and seed saving gardens. And this here is larkspur. This was gifted to us years ago by a farmer up in Shiloh, which is near Micanopy, near our friend Joe Pierce. And it's a really great flower to plant in the fall. It brings in lots of pollinators, and you can see we're starting to get to the point where we can save seeds from it. So really what we're trying to do here is like find annual plants, herbs and flowers that do well here. I love annual plants, but I don't want to fuss with them. I don't want to have to give them a lot. I want to see who can stand up to our conditions. And here's some eggplant. It's called Halep Kayasi, and it's from our Turkish friend who used to be in Tampa, but now he's in Virginia, and he's a really amazing seed steward too. So this is a really great Turkish variety that does well here. So we're gonna save seeds for him, and then we'll save a little bit for ourselves. Dill for seed production and pollinators, and you can see more larkspur. The larkspur is actually a volunteer. I've planted it once and never planted it again. And this is a really special variety of mustard that came from the University of Hawaii. So they have a really great breeding program. And Hawaii has a lot of similar climatic characteristics that we do, humidity, high temperatures. So I always look to their seed banks to see what they're doing. And this, doesn't look like what you would recognize as mustard anymore, right? We're used to mustard having the big green leaves, and by the time it bolts, most of us yank it out of the garden. I would say don't do that. Let it continue flowering. It brings in lots of pollinators, and then you get to save seeds. And you can see my gardening style isn't super neat. I like to let things kind of grow where they come up if they're not in the way. This is called West Indian Burr Gherkin, and I got this from another seed steward named Stephen Smith, who curates a lot of really great varieties similar to what we do. And because of his climate restrictions, and he's got a huge seed bank and he can't replenish them all, he asked us to do these ones. So these are supposed to be some pretty crazy cucumbers that get a little bit spiky and spiny, but they're edible and they're vigorous. And if I can have people growing these rather than regular garden cucumbers, win-win. So I'm kind of curious to see. I've heard about these things and read that they're quite wild, so that's why we gave them this really big trellis, give them some space to climb. And then some Tatumi squash down there. That was a recommendation by a local farmer. It's actually a Cucurbita pepo, which here we can grow it, but it has a lot of issues with insects. So the interesting thing about this, rather than being sort of like a bush, like a zucchini or a yellow squash, it vines and sprawls, and so it gives it a little more resilience to pest pressure. So we're going to save seeds from these. so exciting. I love seeing the changes every day and seeing who wants to live in the garden without me planting them anymore, like cosmos and larkspur. And this is my project of garlic that some might say I'm crazy for. Most of the farmers I've talked to about real garlic in the South say it can't be done. We've tried a few varieties, they're okay. So I was talking to some pretty serious garlic people at the Seed Savers Exchange conference a few years ago that have collected about 200 varieties, and they said, well, these ones might actually do okay in your climate. And so they gave me a few to try. And these are my third year saving cloves and replanting, so we'll see. Maybe we'll have a few good varieties that we can propagate. Garlic is hard, you have to grow it every year. It's not like an annual seed where you can save it for years. Every single year you gotta grow garlic out. So when you buy garlic cloves from a seed catalog, have a little respect for the tons of work that goes into that. So dill, super easy to grow and save in Florida. Also really great for insects. So even if you're not gonna save seeds, just let a few flower until you're ready to plant something else. So pro tip, this big umbel here, they call this the mother umbel. And if you notice, it has the biggest seeds on it compared to the smaller umbels on the side. So as a seed saver, what I would do is wait for this to get nice and dry, harvest this and save these seeds for planting, and then save these ones for making your dill pickles and other things that you want to cook with in the kitchen. And if you were to go through your dill flower patch, you would see an incredible amount of pollinators on here. Everything seems to like dill, and especially the little tiny pollinators that are kind of specialized to small flowers love dill, and they love anything in that family. So parsley, cilantro, carrots, sometimes carrots flower here. Again, even if you're not saving seeds, they have such beautiful flowers and the pollinators really love it. So if you can have it in your garden for a little while until the next thing has to be planted, let them be and it'll be a good thing. And these are a special variety of tomato that, again, was recommended by a local farmer. This is how we operate, as we get recommendations from locals, called Jaune Flamme. And it's a large orange cherry tomato, and it's got excellent flavor. So it's not very common, so we're gonna save it to have it available for folks. Last summer, we did a tomato tasting, and so we gathered 102 varieties that were grown here in North Florida by our gardeners and in our gardens. This was in the top 10 flavor. So gonna keep growing that one, and it also does really well. So two of our criteria are, does it grow well here, and does it taste good?
So Melissa, hold on a second here.
All right.
You have a degree in seed saving? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, totally. A self-taught degree in seed saving. So I'm actually an ecologist, and I got my degree from the University of Florida in interdisciplinary ecology. I was a biologist for years. I was in wetlands catching animals and studying plants, and then found the connection between how we eat and how we grow and how that affects our ecosystem. And I love Florida. I love the aquifers. I love the woods and the sandhills. I love it all. And so I really got passionate about food and how we grow it. So then seed saving, it was just kind of a happy accident, and now there's no turning back. Like, I'm so passionate about saving seeds that are good for here and keeping the biodiversity alive. So that's my degree, self-taught seed saving. So what we're looking at here is about half the volume of seeds that we had. Yesterday we processed about this much and just couldn't finish. And this is a really special variety called Ethiopian kale. Now, it's not a true kale. It's not Brassica oleracea like the kale and collards and broccoli that we're familiar with, but it's Brassica carinata. And we found this in the seed bank of Echo Seed Farm down in South Florida. It looked interesting, so we grew it, and I loved it. I loved it personally. Last year, we really put it to the test in a field trial at the University of Florida, comparing it to the real kales. And this one in the fall season outperformed in biomass and flavor. And it did really, really well with handling insects and temperature fluctuations. So this is definitely one of those things, like, it shouldn't be in an obscure seed collection that's hard to get to. People here should have access to it. So that's what we're doing. So basically we let the Ethiopian kale grow throughout the fall and spring, and we do what's called in the seed saving world roguing. So when you see a plant that's not performing well, doesn't have the qualities that you're looking for, you yank it out of the field and you eat it before it gets a chance to flower and share its pollen. You only want to save from the best. So this represents the best of about 400 plants that we had in our little garden here. Brassicas are highly outbred. That means they need a lot of genetic diversity. So you can think of these types of plants like animals and humans, which are animals, that if we start getting inbred, you can start to tell, something's going on. We have some health problems, maybe skin problems or genetic disorders. These types of plants are the same. So if they get too inbred over years, you'll notice their vigor's lost or they're more prone to insects or disease. So save healthy and save a lot. So after they flowered, we would get these seed pods, and a couple weeks ago these were green. Now they're brown, and ideally, like any vegetable, you want to eat it as fresh as possible off the plant. You get the most nutrition. It's the same with seeds. The longer they're on the mother plant, the more robust and nourished they're going to be, which is really important for healthy seeds. And all you do is you just rub these seed pods open, and there's your seeds. So yesterday we probably got about 2 pounds of seed off of this, and one of the beautiful things about how this operation connects to adults with disabilities, this work is really accessible for just about everyone. They can sit. If they have any sort of physical issues, it's really fun. We can all sit and gather in a circle and clean seeds for a couple hours and tell stories. And then in the end, our seeds are cleaned, which is great because it's a lot of work. All right, so we're here in our second seed saving and trial garden. This is actually my favorite. I don't know why. There's just a different energy in this garden. So we've got a few different things going on here. We'll start over here. So these 2 rows that don't look like much right now, this is where that Ethiopian kale was, and it was a beautiful sort of canopy. Both of these rows were hanging heavy with seeds, which we had to stake up. But now I was anxiously waiting, or rather these okra were, to get in the ground. So we had to get them out. And this is a really cool variety. Another seed steward and friend up in South Carolina, Nat Bradford. If you Google him, he's the famous Bradford family watermelon seed saver. So that's a really interesting story. And it turns out he has a treasure trove of other family heirlooms, and one of them is this okra. And I'm a fan of heirlooms, but if they don't perform well, or they're just not doing well in our climate, I'm not gonna focus on them. But he says this one grows really well in the southeast, and supposedly even at a big size, the okra pods are tender, which is huge, right? Because okra turns into like woody baseball bats pretty quickly. So we've got enough plants here that if they all make it through, we should have a good genetic population of seeds to save that we can share with other people. And I did ask Nat, are you cool if we save these and share them and sell them later? And he said, of course. If you're a real seed steward and this is what you want to do, is get varieties out to people, you don't really care. You want everyone to grow and share. So what we have in this garden is the remnants of our lettuce seed saving for this season. So you can see lettuce plants, once they've bolted, they get really bitter, so most gardeners would pull them out of the garden at that point. But if you let them continue to flower, then they will produce seeds. And it does take maybe an extra month or 2 past that point, which can make seed saving a challenge. If you have a small garden and you're trying to feed yourself, or you have a market garden, letting lettuce sit for an extra couple months might not be in your plan. It's in our plan, and that's what we do. So here's an example of, hopefully this is a good one. Sometimes they're not always fertilized. See if I can get some seeds out of here. There we go. It's a little humid this morning, so it's not separating as nicely as I would like to show you, but you can see those are the little lettuce seeds. So the trick with seed saving in the southeast really is the humidity and the rain. So I'm watching the weather like 10 times a day. I'm checking it. When is it going to rain? What's the humidity like? And if my seeds are getting close to being mature, but I see that the humidity is going to be a problem, or it's going to rain for a day, I take these out, I cut them at the soil level, and they go inside to dry in the safety of not being rained on. And we'll show you that later. Some other good staple Florida crops is the pigeon pea, and here in North Florida I'm used to this dying over the winter time, but it was a really warm winter, so it was kind of a nice surprise to have pigeon pea and moringa and a few other things make it through the winter. So it was really strange to wrap my head around. Like in January, I had pigeon peas and they were producing. So just the other day, I harvested a whole bunch of pigeon peas for seed, and they're pretty easy to identify when seeds are ripe. It's a little humid this morning, so they don't crunch. They don't have that like sound and that feel yet, but they will once the sun comes up a little heavier. And it's really as easy as just waiting until they get this close. And there's your pigeon pea seeds. So you could eat them at this point, or you could go and dry a handful of them as best you can and then store them for growing next year. And we've got 2 varieties here, a pink flowering and a yellow flowering one. Seems like the pink one, it's beautiful, but it's not producing as much. So I'm kind of a fan of the yellow one. And we've been using them, you know, of course, for soil fertility. We'll kind of chop some stems off and throw them down in the rows, and now they're sort of serving as a trellis material to stake up the lettuce. So these flowers were actually kind of a mistake. I probably shouldn't have planted them here, but they're really happy and they bring in so many pollinators and they're just beautiful. So it's almost like a little meadow here of native black-eyed Susans and blanket flowers. Some of my cosmos and larkspurs are mixed in, so it brings in a lot of cool pollinators to the garden. And again, they're just beautiful. So we're saving seeds from them. So blanket flower. This is actually one that's nice to harvest seed from in the morning because these little seed heads are kind of pokey. So once they dry out in the day, I'm gonna throw my pigeon peas down there. During the daytime when they've dried out, these kind of hurt your hands. I mean, it's not gonna injure you, but in the morning, the dew makes them a little bit softer. And that's it. So there's your blanket flower seeds. And this is one of those flowers, if you're trying to share it with somebody or take it somewhere, this is important. But if you just want it to go on its own in the garden, you don't need to do this. It's gonna do it for you. You can see it's coming up everywhere.
Those are the kind of volunteers we want, huh?
Exactly. Those are my favorite volunteers. So my garden, it's you know, there's a lot of volunteers in here that sometimes come up where I don't want them, and I'll actually spend time with people, with my volunteers, not plant volunteers, moving them around where they belong, and other times I just have to weed them, which kind of breaks my heart. But for the most part, a lot of the things just kind of work themselves out and they're in a place that I want them. And this here, I have to point this special plant out. This is becoming more popular lately with gardeners in Florida. It's Roselle. Has many common names. Common names get so confusing. Hibiscus sabdorifa. It's got the beautiful red calyxes that you can make tea and jams from. So I don't know that this particular strain is anything special, but it came to us from Seed Savers Exchange, and one of their members had gathered seeds from Myanmar 30 years ago and was growing them in a climate where seed production isn't possible. They just had it for leaves, which are really tasty. And probably underutilized actually, so eat your leaves. Anyhow, he had been pulling from the same seed bank for years and realized it was kind of critical to save them, so they sent them to us because in our climate this is easy. I can save tons of seeds from these plants. Unfortunately, of about 70 seeds they sent me, only 8 made it this far because the seeds were older. So we're really babying these plants, but the nice thing about Roselle is like they don't really need to be babied. I'm just a little more protective because I feel like they're very special. So we'll save seeds from them and share them back with Seed Savers Exchange and try to figure out if it's anything different than the Roselle that we're used to. So one interesting and sort of awesome thing about seed people is they're really sharing and they help each other out. So this is straw flower from a cut flower seed producer up in Oregon. And she thought that her colors got mixed up in the field. So she wanted to know whether it was just one color or a mix of colors. And since we can grow these in the winter time, I could grow them for her and then she would know by now so she knows how to sell them or not. So for us, it was just kind of fun because I love growing flowers and straw flowers are super cool. They're so strange. You know, they have this sound to them. Anyways, they're sort of towards the end of their life now and they're harder to see, but the colors definitely mixed. You can see sort of like peachy, creamy colors and red and pinks. So that was useful information for her, low cost for us. I also sent some seeds to Swallowtail Farm where they actually do cut flower production here. And then I learned how to save seeds from them. So once you become a seed saver, you just start to notice like, oh, those might be the seeds. Are they in a pot? Are they open? Are they in a fruit? And these ones, these are probably gonna come up every year now because I haven't been able to catch them all. But you can see they just come right off super easily and they just blow away in the wind. And then it leaves this really cool empty disc in the middle of the flower, and it just looks kind of neat. And then you get all these seeds. So we've been saving some just for fun, and we're probably gonna have straw flower coming up everywhere next year. So that'll be another one of those flower volunteers that I'll selectively weed or move around. So this is where the seed cleaning happens. Seed cleaning is so important to have high quality seeds that are clean and disease free, and nobody wants a seed packet full of chaff. So we have 2 DIY seed cleaning machines. These plans are online, they're open source, and we had a local friend help build this. His fingerprints are all over our seed cleaning area. It's really good to have handy friends. So I sent him the plans for this seed cleaner and he built it in about 2 days, and it's really simple. You just hook up a shop vac into your seed machine. This window adjusts airflow depending on how heavy or light your seeds are. This is where you dump the seeds in, and it's kind of like a little ping pong game. So the seeds bounce around in here, and the heavy seeds kind of bounce, 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 and they fall into a bucket that you put underneath. And then the lighter seeds, which are not good because they haven't fully matured, and the chaff and all the light debris that you don't want, comes up through this channel and down here and accumulates. And then all we do is just, once it gets full, we'll just empty it out right there. So that's one that he built, and then we tried another one, very similar in concept and what it does, but just a different strategy. So we can dump all the seeds in here and then hand crank it. And there's a little auger that feeds the seeds down here. And then again, they just fall down, the heavy ones. We collect them in a bucket. We've got tons of these buckets thanks to Sweet Berry's restaurant in Gainesville. And then the old seeds and the bad seeds and the chaff accumulate there, and we just pop it out.
So which one works better? That was pretty slick. I'm enjoying these.
This one has a minor design flaw that we're gonna have to fix, where some of the seeds get stuck in there. So we're gonna like figure out a way to pull it out, and then if that gets fixed, then I like this one.
Really?
Because otherwise you have to, I'm short, so I have to stand on my little stool and feed the seeds in really slowly. If you just dump them, they all just go whoosh. Whereas that one, the auger helps control the flow in.
Nice.
Yeah. So they're both good. And again, these are really simple machines. I can show one of the adults that works here how to use it, and they love it because like the finished product is visible, and then the end product is also, or the trash pile is also visible.
Love it.
You can see yesterday we spent a lot of time cleaning those Ethiopian kale seeds. So this is all the chaff that's left over from that, and it makes good compost. I probably wouldn't put it directly in my garden because I probably missed a lot of seeds, and then I'll have a ton of volunteers coming up. So we compost it where the hot compost operation will kill the seeds. So another really useful thing, very low tech but super, super critical to seed saving, is having a selection of screens. So we do most things by hand here. And this year actually we just got some screens built for us. So my friend Tom Wooten and Bruce Proctor, I just gave them the metal screens and they built the frames, and so you have all different sizes. So I have like 6 versions of hole sizes that are round, which help accommodate all different types of seeds. And then there's some special ones for lettuce. So lettuce is more long seeds, and they slide through these holes really nicely and catch all the chaff. The chaff stays on top and the seeds go in the bottom. So we've got lots of screens, we have all kinds of bins and buckets to collect seeds in, and funnels. Really low tech, cheap stuff can get your work done. And this here is our seed drying rack, and these are the lettuces that we harvested from the garden. So we cut them off right at the soil level, stuck them flower end into the bag, and we've got fans blowing on them just to keep air moving. It's a humid environment. Let them mature a little bit more. And probably on Monday, we'll go ahead and just start shaking the seeds around in a bin and harvesting those lettuce seeds out.
Whoa, seed bank. You got a special code or key to get in here? What's going on?
Not everybody gets to come in, so come on in. This is my happy place. Right. If you can't find me, I'm always in the seed bank.
Whoa. Whoa, this is like a vault.
Yeah. So Seeds need 3 things to stay viable for a long time: cool, dark, dry. We're in Florida. It is hot, humid, and very bright. So this environment here helps keep them as best we can with the budget we have. So it's not as cold as I would like. You can see it's about 70 degrees in here, but the humidity, if you had to pick just one thing to help your seeds out, keep them dry. Moisture can lead to fungus. It allows the seeds to respire quicker and use up their food. It also lets insects live. So when it's about 35% or lower humidity, the insects are not a problem, the disease is kept at bay, and seeds are kept really nice. So I kind of have a rough gauge of humidity. If you hear that sound, it's like nice crunchy paper. So it's nice in here. So this is where we store a lot of our seeds, and this is also where we dry some of our seeds. So all the kale that we threshed and winnowed the other day is now sitting on these trays where we can dry it out even further. And then the next step after we dry them out is I will do a germination test to make sure they're good. I do not want to give people seeds that don't germinate. That's a very bad thing to do as a seed saver and someone running a small seed operation. So germ test is important. So anyways, different types of seeds, lots of labels. Some of these seeds look the same. The Ethiopian kale looks the same as the Hawaiian mustard. I don't want to get them mixed up. That would be another bad thing to do. Give someone some kale seeds and they get a mustard. And usually we put more than one label in each just in case something gets lost. And we've got Seminole pumpkin seeds here drying, and pigeon peas. There's that sound I like that we didn't get in the field because it was too humid. So this is why drying is really important. And I've just kind of got it organized in a way that makes sense for me and somewhat easy for people to come in here and find. So they're organized alphabetically by the type of crop they are. This stuff here still needs to be cleaned. It's fresh from the field, it's dried, but it has chaff or it has old seed, or not old seed, but not viable seed that needs to get separated. These are things that we've used and given away, and I need to reweigh them and take inventory again so we know how much seed we have left of different things. And then this middle shelf is just sort of my in-progress gardening. So I've labeled each bin stuff I've planted, stuff I want to plant, stuff that needs to go back into storage.
Free seeds.
So we get a lot of donated seeds too that we don't necessarily have any plans for. So if we get requests for free seeds, we'll give them to people. We donate them to seed libraries and different events. So I wanted to show you this. This is a really special corn variety. It's the Dudley Farm Dent corn. And this was brought to Newberry, Florida in the 1800s by the Dudley family. And it was an incredible corn that adapted to living here. They planted it June 6th. So that once the summer rains were reliable, they could be irrigated by nature, not by irrigation lines. And it was really hardy to living in these conditions. It was really super flavorful. And if you look at some of the old notes from the Dudleys, Myrtle described how the tip of the corn, the husk, curled like a hog snout that kept the weevils out. So it's a really great variety, but it's almost, you know, it's really vulnerable right now. There's not a lot of seed left and not a lot of people keeping it. So this year we're working with a local farmer who can grow out 3,000 plants, which is incredible. And I told him, as long as I get the best 300 ears for seed corn, you can have the rest for grits. And so these different bags here are from different years and different people that have grown it. So what we're trying to do here, because Dudley has kind of been isolated in different places for many years, we're going to bring all these different varieties from these different people that have been keeping it, grow them in one field, and kind of hope for that effect that's called hybrid vigor, where a hybrid variety that's two different parents of whatever vegetable you're talking about, they come together and the infusion of the genetics kind of makes that plant healthy again. That's what I'm hoping for this year. So you have to wish us luck on the Dudley Farm corn project.
Exciting.
Yeah. One of my favorite new things has been cowpeas, and like all the different varieties that do well here, and they're different flavors and types, and so I've been collecting a lot of cowpeas. And So this cowpea is one of my new favorites, and this was another project we helped Seed Savers exchange with, because cowpeas do way better in the South than they do in the Midwest where they're from. We helped them grow and save these out. So this is what I kept, and I sent them about 4 pounds of cowpea seed last spring, and they're just super cute. I don't know, they just look cute. I didn't actually get a chance to taste them. Sometimes that's a downfall of my job. I'm so focused on seed saving that I forget to actually eat them. So I connect with chefs and other people to be like, here, you try it and tell me what you think. Anyhow, and I grew this up, the Dudley Farm corn, last year, and it did really well together in sort of that Three Sisters style gardening. Check these seeds out. I am a huge fan of beautiful things, and I think this watermelon will do just fine here. But this is from my Turkish friend Mehmet again, his beautiful Turkish varieties. I don't know how you pronounce this. Sakira Deji Oyali. It means crocheted seed. I got it just because they're beautiful. Look at these things. So what happens is they look like normal watermelon seeds when they're in the fruit, but when they dry, the seed coat shrinks in different patterns to where it looks like you have, I don't know, butterfly wings, a crocheted seed of some sort. So I was envisioning jewelry, but of course, you know, we'll get a watermelon out of it, which is fun. And I'm gonna have to save these for next year because I tried growing a few and the rats in our greenhouse got the better of me this year, so I need to strategize before I plant rare seeds like that out. And gosh, I have so many beautiful seeds and unique seeds, but here's one more. So this is a really good example of how traditional ways of seed saving recognized that diversity was good. So you don't just save from one trait and accidentally remove genetics for different qualities that you might not necessarily see. So this is called pebble bean, and this is a variety. So even though they all look super different, it's one variety. The bean produces lots of different colors and shapes, and I've seen this a number of times in different varieties of things that traditional people had saved. So we are in the beautiful seed room, and we've renovated this space over the past year to fit our needs to teach, to gather, to clean and package seeds. We package about 10,000 packets by hand every year. And last weekend we had seed school. It's our third time teaching it. It's a weekend-long deep dive into seeds. So how to save them, how to store them, how to breed them, how to test them, how to germinate them, the whole gamut with seeds. Basically, we can do whatever we want in here, and this is our little hula hoop, just in case I get bored and need some exercise. This is our seed packaging cart. So we've got our different styles of envelopes here. And this past year we went big and got real envelopes, which is huge because not only are they pretty, but they have this awesome resealable latex, because you don't always plant all your seeds.
Well, so you got to see one of those. Now, who did this art?
So this was a UF student named Marjorie who did this one for us. So this is the spring and summer version. It's got Seminole pumpkin and sweet corn and butter beans and sunflowers, and then we have a fall one too. That's laying around here somewhere. And then we also have this version, the Garden Girl. I drew it and everyone says it looks like me, but I don't see it. And then again, really low tech but efficient tools that we just gather over time that help us do our seed work. So these didn't work as well as we thought. They're okay. These are gunpowder scoops, but we keep them on hand. And this is our little cheat sheet for each scoop, approximately how many seeds that it holds. So this is a really great way to just kind of standardize what we do without getting too complicated. And then we just accumulate all kinds of goodies. So when I go to the thrift store and I find scoops, I get them. So regular size scoops for baking in the kitchen, specialized scoops that are used for, I think these are soap makers that accumulate these. And so we have a whole selection of different things that can work. So typically what we do with the volunteers that help us is we say, all right, we need 50 seeds, let's find the best scoop for 50 seeds. So we count it once and then we scoop it about 100 times. And again, just more odds and ends, cups and dishes to help us do the work. A lot of repurposed stuff. One of our favorite places to shop is the Repurpose Project, because they have all kinds of things people have donated that can have a new life in different ways. And so when it's time to package seeds, we'll set up tables, and we have all kinds of these. These are old school lunch trays back in the day when they didn't use styrofoam and made real food, which we're trying to change. So we got access to all these lunch trays that are really great for doing seed work, because if you spill, it's on the tray and you can dump it back in. And a few more of our screens here. These are specialized seed screens as well, just a little bit smaller than the ones we had in the barn. And these are a few of our fall seeds that are out. This is not the best environment to store seeds in because it's kind of humid in here. But they'll be fine since we're not trying to keep them for 10 years, just to keep them viable for a few years. They're just fine. All right, so if you want to find us and support our work, our actual seed gardens and our seeds are stored here at Grow Hub in Gainesville. It's a beautiful nursery where we get to call home for our seeds. And our offices and our commercial kitchen and our community event space are over at Working Food on Northwest 10th Avenue. And you can look us up at workingfood.org. You can learn all about our seed work and how to connect with us and get seeds. If you want to learn about seed saving or you want to donate seeds to us, I'm the one that you want to call, or email is probably even better. My hands are often dirty and in my garden, so I don't answer the phone all the time. So just Melissa at workingfood.org is the best way to find us. And you can come to Grow Hub 5 days a week. We're here in the morning working with our plants and working in the garden.
Awesome, Melissa. Keep up the awesome work. I love it. Whoa, so all right guys, I hope you enjoyed this epic video with Melissa. She is doing some next level important work here. Links will be in the description down below. I really hope you guys are gonna go over there and support her, buy some of her seeds, drop her a line, tell her you appreciate what she's doing, because I know I do. If y'all like this video, don't forget to hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe. And remember, if you hit that bell, you'll stay notified when I put up a new video. So hit the bell too. Most importantly, pound some dirt.